Now, let me tell you why I'm telling you this and why I found out about this, because I've lived a pretty energetic lifestyle for most of my life, prided myself that I can rock the house, whether it's 2,000 people or whether it's 20,000, for as long as the day can go by. And I did it because years ago I made a huge shift in my life, which is this dietary approach that I'm describing to you, and this lifestyle approach. And I freed myself of the fear, which took away some of the acid by itself. Right? You heard earlier I described I was always afraid early in my life I was going to die of cancer. That'll create some nice acid for you. So what happened for me is I started to get to the point where I was using much more of my mind for the energy as opposed to my body. Can anybody relate to that? It's like it's more mental energy and like will. Like I get on stage and crank, but it wasn't like I feel now. It's just like that just feels effortless. It was more like, am I going to do one more song? Kind of like a lot of you were thinking over this weekend, right? So what happened was I had this mindset of, I'm an Adonis and I'm humble about it. I've got this energy, I want to kick butt, take names. And what happened for me is it started like by the end of a program, I was wiped. But you know how things happen gradually? So you don't quite notice? It's kind of like, the old metaphor, you put the frog in warm water and you turn up the water slowly, it'll boil to death. The old metaphor. You put it in boiling water, it jumps right out. Well, most of us, our challenges come so slowly that we adjust each stage and we don't realize what we've lost. And it's like I feel when I do the Living Health Seminar, I'm almost like trying to tell someone what a rose smells like who's never really smelled one. Because most people have never given themselves the gift of that kind of dynamic energy. They've never had it. Because no one taught them how to have that. And that's my real goal in being here. I want you to realize, I want you to experience that nothing tastes as good as fit, healthy, and vital feels. Nothing. And once you feel that, you'll get addicted to that feeling, and it will change every aspect of your life, your relationships, your finances, everything. Because here we are living in this culture where people value everything more than their body. Their money, their career, we'll do anything for our kids, right? All these other things. And what's the last thing that shows up? Our bodies. And thank God that our bodies are as strong as they are, but we deserve to have them at full tilt. So for me, as I started to feel this little bit of loss, so I thought, okay, I know what the problem is. I'm getting toxic. I'm exerting more energy, right, on an ongoing basis than I'm building back up. I'm not sleeping, and I'm not resting, and I'm go the whole time, and I just need to balance out and cleanse my system. So I decided to do that. Now, I know quite a bit about a variety of sciences that have to do with how to study the blood, and there's quite a bit of research that's been done overseas. And there's a certain type of microscope in the past called a dark field microscope. Dark field microscopy, I guess is how they pronounce it. And so years ago I had that, and it allows you to see what you don't see in a traditional blood test. It allows you to see that your blood, unlike traditional science tells you, is not sterile. It's like another universe with all these creatures moving around inside of it. But what's interesting is there's a new microscope out now called an ultralight microscope that allows you to see even deeper. And what you also can see is things like candida or yeast in your blood, parasites. You can see everything, and it's very visual. So before I went on this cleanse, I said, what I'm going to do? I'm going to go look at my blood so I can see how bad it is, and also so I can feel the victory afterwards and see it clean up. So I found out about this place that did this new form of microscope work. I went down, looked at my blood. My white blood cells were ripped open and like leaking out. They weren't moving at the pace they're supposed to move. And my immune system's broken down, which probably was how I was feeling inside. I was feeling run down. And I'm thinking, God, I know I eat well and that stuff, but I thought, no, I'm not. I'm going full tilt. I'm not breathing. I'm not doing the other things that are so important, and I'm exercising like a maniac on top of it, right? Because I want to be fit. And so I looked at this, and then what was interesting about it is I was also full of candida. Now, what yeast do in your bloodstream is they eat all your glucose, which is all your energy storage, right? All your sugar. So what that does is you eat, and you're never satisfied, because you're not getting the nutrients. Remember, taking in nutrition doesn't mean anything. If you don't have proper digestion and assimilation, you have no nutrition. So what happens is along the way, the yeast consume it. So I don't know how many of you can relate to this, but I would find myself, I was so busy, I wouldn't eat all day long. Then about 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, I was ready to eat a human. I was like, I got to have something, man. I get that state where you got to have something. How many can relate? Come on, say aye. That's because your blood sugar is where? Through the floor, right? So I'd find that, and it created a lot of stress, and it created my energy being super high, and then boom, I'd hit a crash point, man, and I would crash if I didn't go do something. So all of a sudden, I look at this thing and I can see why. It's eating it all up. And by the way, you know what yeast does once it eats all your sugar? If you don't give it enough sugar, which it demands, your cravings for sugar are the little creatures inside of you demanding it. If you got a lot of acid addictions right now, as acid addictions are like cigarettes or alcohol or coffee, where you got to have it, and you get yourself alkaline, this is not a willpower thing. You won't go through the headaches and all that crap people do. That headaches is all the acid that's released back into your body now as you start to cleanse. It's in the cells, in the fat. And when you stop getting acid, the body goes, all right, we got a chance to get rid of this stuff. Put it in the blood and let's get it out. When it puts it back in the blood, you get this headache, and you're detoxifying, it's called. I'm going to show you how you can detoxify without all the pain, which is really wonderful, by having enough alkalinity to deal with those things. Does that sound good? It's really important. Really important. So anyway, the point of the matter is, I look at my blood, and I got candida in there, so no wonder my energy's not as high. Sure, I'm living well, supposedly. Now, what caused the candida? That's the part I want to understand. Because look at me, I eat really well. I really do. I thought, well, you know, candida is feeding on sugar. I don't eat sugar. But, you know, I'm vegetarian. And I see a lot of vegetarians. The meat eaters always look at them and go, I don't want to look like that. Well, that's because they're eating tofu and drinking milk and eating cheese and eating all that crap that's horrible for them. But also, they eat all kinds of carbohydrates that convert into sugar. And sugar, ultimately, taken in mass, becomes acid in the system. It has an acid ash. So does protein. Has an acid ash. You go, what's left to eat? You know, don't tell me you're going to talk to me about veggies, are you? We're not getting there, are we? Yep. But I also want to show you how you can have like a big salad, drink a green drink, and get most of your alkalinity from that, so you can still have the foods you have, maybe in hopefully a little bit smaller quantity, because you won't desire it as much as you become more alkaline and more balanced. The point of the matter is, I started looking at this and going, boy, I know what it is it's the pastas, it's the carbs, and I always had fruit from breakfast till noon. I've taught people that for years. I'm dead wrong about that. And the reason I'm dead wrong about that, and I didn't know, and it served me well, because fruit cleansed me, it was great, gave me energy. What I didn't realize was we live in a society where most of our food is processed. And as we're eating all this processed food, we're getting so much acid that eating a bunch of fruit on top of it adds that much more sugar and creates more candida. How many follow that? Okay? So I'm not saying fruit's not good. I'm saying you don't want to consume excess amounts of it, especially if you've got a diet that has lots of other carbs in it, because you're creating an environment. Now follow me. We'll come full circle now. You're creating an environment that these little creatures will proliferate, right? Because they got a feeding ground, right? The rats don't come until there's enough trash to feed them. When there's all this trash, they're going to come. And once they get there, they tell their friends, right? They camp out. And they grow and expand and create more of a problem, don't they? So you don't want to create trash inside. Trash inside starts with the acid, and then it starts to create more and more challenges. And as we do this, as we become more acidic, as we get more sugar in our bloodstream, we create the things that suck our energy away. As I started to say, when they're done with your sugars, these yeast start to eat your proteins. They start to literally break down your soft tissues and your muscle mass. So if you're real flabby and all that stuff, you know, I don't know the real statistic. There are books that claim, there's some scientists that now claim that as much as 70% of the population is infected with yeast and candida. I mean, it sounds to me extreme, except when you look at the lifestyle of most people, then you go, maybe it's not extreme. But you can find out very easily by doing a blood test, and you've got to cleanse it out. The good news is you can cleanse it out easily. All you got to do is alkalize the bloodstream, because this environment that the yeast grows in has to be acidic, right? It's the environment, guys. It's always the environment. And the good news is we're in total control of that. And by the way, even your teeth. Think about this. If you talk to your dentist has been educated, they'll tell you sugar doesn't burn holes in teeth. It's the sugar as it metabolizes into acid, which all sugars do, it drills a hole in your teeth. It's the acid that does that. Now imagine that acid going through your organs, through your tissues. Imagine that you have a genetic strengths and weaknesses. If yours is in the prostate, gentlemen, the acid will go there. And that's where you're going to experience the biggest problem. If it's in your breast that's that situation for a woman, it's going to go there. It's going to go wherever your weak point is. If your liver's weak, it's going to go there. The weakest part of your body is where the acids will settle, because that part of the body can't clean up the mess as quickly. Does that make sense? And so then you pay the price in your weak place. So you must be alkaline. This whole conversation is, number one, how do we alkalize the body? Why do we alkalize the body? Because we've got to have the 7.36. And again, you can do this. You can go pick up all those things, put it in your mouth, and see where you are. So anyway, the point of the matter is, I went and got this blood test to finish the story. I said, what do I do? They said, here's the things you should do. And they said, in 30 days, you can have this totally turned around. I said, show me some examples. So they showed me before and after of people's blood. Being visual, that convinced me. So I said, great. So me a woman had breast cancer and what her blood looked like. And it scared me because mine was moving in that direction, that kind of breakdown. And they showed me 30 days later, and blood was perfect, right? And she's fine. So I went and did this for 30 days, and I went and had the blood test again because I'm not a believer in, like, I've never promoted supplements because most of it is expensive urine. 90% of it just goes straight through you. Your body can't digest it. It's not absorbed. So I went 30 days later, and I looked at my blood, and my blood was perfect. No candida in the system. White blood cells perfect. I knew that before I got there because I felt better than I could remember feeling in probably 5 or 6 years. And I think I feel pretty awesome. But I remembered how good I felt before that I've gradually forgotten. So everything I taught before is totally in alignment with creating alkalinity except eating fruit in the morning till noon. And I've been teaching that for years, so I was an idiot. I apologize. But it really worked for me. I mean, it worked at the time. But it has a cumulative effect if you're doing all these other things too. So I'm not suggesting you can't eat fruit. And I'm going to now become very specific about the principles. But I wanted to give you this overview. Does this make sense to you? Okay?